Welcome to the Sheckler Spotlight, where creativity meets purpose and conversation goes deeper. Join host Harrison Sheckler as he sits down with inspiring guests from all walks of life, artists, thinkers, musicians, and everyday heroes, to explore the stories that shape us, uplift us, and connect us. Now here's your host, Harrison Sheckler.
Hi, I'm your host, Harrison Sheckler. Today's guest is Olympic silver medalist and one of the top platform divers in the world, Delaney Schnell Maxwell. Born in Iron Mountain, Michigan, and raised in Tucson, Arizona, Delaney has risen through the ranks of diving to become one of Team USA's most accomplished athletes. She won a bronze medal at the 2019 World Aquatics Championships in the individual 10-meter platform, and then made history at the Tokyo Olympics by winning silver in the synchronized 10-meter platform alongside Jessica Parado, the first Olympic medal for the United States in that event. Since then, she's continued to dominate internationally and collegiately at the University of Arizona, where she captured the NCAA National Championship in the 10-meter platform and earned Pac-12 Diver of the Year and Scholar Athlete of the Year honors. The spotlight is now on you, Delaney Schnell Maxwell. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's fun to be here. Looking forward to it.
I'm really excited to explore your world and just how you got to the point you are today. So we're going to take it back to the beginning. I want to know, what was your childhood like, and how did you even get into this world of diving? Where did that all start?
Yeah. So my family we're the athletes.
Okay.
So I actually came from a family that is very big in sports. It was almost like a requirement growing up from my family, like you needed to be in a sport. Mm-hmm. And I'm so grateful for that, because that's something that I'm going to implement with my kids in the future, is just because it teaches you so much. Like, I've learned a lot from sports. You make a lot of good friends, lifelong friends, just things that you're going to actually use in your work life after sports, that, everything transfers. But I actually came from a running family. So my family they're all runners, which is fitting for the Schnell last name, because Schnell is fast. I actually ran my first 5K when I was like 3 years old with my family.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Picture somewhere, I'd have to find it, but I'm holding my hands with my dad, and we're running a little 5K.
Oh, that's awesome.
First 5K at 3. My dad was actually a very, very fast runner. So he ran in college. My cousins ran in college. They're, one of my cousins just won state, the men's cross country state in Upper Michigan. So we do come from a family of runners. I don't really know where I got the artistic sport gene from. I wouldn't say my family is the most coordinated people. It's funny that I ended up in gymnastics, and that ended up being the sport that kind of pushed me into diving. Mm-hmm. So I was a gymnast starting at about age 4. And then from there, it's just, gymnastics was a sport where they pushed you very hard at a very young age. And I went to, the Curly Ranch for some tops camps there. And I just burnt out so quick. You're 10 years old and you're training 4 or 5 hours a day, 6 days a week. Like, it's pretty intense for a kid. So that was kind of my life growing up. And I don't regret it at all, because I think it did teach me a lot of life lessons. And just like, it did teach me to make sure you enjoy the sport you're doing, not just do it because you're good at it. You have to enjoy it too. And so I actually had a teammate who was one of the older girls when I was younger diving. She had gone to dive club at the University of Arizona pool. Mm-hmm. She had quit gymnastics, and my siblings swam at that pool. So on occasion, I would go with my parents to pick up my siblings from swim practice. And this was when I was kind of wrestling with like wanting to quit gymnastics, but my parents were kind of like, well, like, we need a good reason. Like, you got to quit on a good day. You can't just quit because like you're not enjoying it. Like, you got to find a reason. Why do you want to quit it? And then the other thing was like, I needed to find a different sport. Mm-hmm. So basically I saw my older teammate Izzy. She was up on the diving boards and I was like, oh my gosh, she was one of the older girls that I looked up to. And so I actually went over, talked to her, told her I was kind of wanting to quit gymnastics, but I would like to find another sport. And she was kind of the one that said, have you thought about diving? And so I didn't want to do it because it looked scary. I
Yeah.
was like, that sport looks terrifying. So I said, I no way. But when she had asked, because she was an older girl that I looked up to, I was like, okay, I'll try it. So I just next day I got up there, tried it, and it was like kind of an instant, like this sport was meant for me. Like I just knew. Um, I had the coach asking me within a week, what are your aspirations in this sport? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just trying to, I guess, learn a new sport. I don't know. But he had basically told me that he saw a lot of potential in me, and everything just kind of took off from there. I was competing internationally within, I want to say, 2 years of starting diving. So yeah, things just kind of took off.
And what age was this again that you started diving?
Yeah, I started around age 10.
Aged, okay. So and how long total were you doing the gymnastics before then?
From 4 to 10, so about 6, 7 years.
Okay, so you think that was probably what made it easier to transfer into diving? I mean, is that pretty common that and do people do both at the same time?
Yeah, I actually had a little period where it overlapped. So I was kind of transitioning out of gymnastics,
Mm,
still talking with my coaches in gymnastics with the idea of quitting. And I was also diving at the same time until I fully transitioned. But yeah, I would say a lot of your really like your top divers at least started in gymnastics because it's easier to find gymnastics for one,
hmm.
um, more availability than diving. And also that air awareness that you get trained at such a young age in gymnastics really transfers super well. I would say the one thing that was really difficult to learn was in gymnastics, you're taught not to land on your head, obviously.
Sure.
So diving, it was like flipping backwards and being told to land on your head. It was just a whole, like your body just would react and say, no, this is not right. So I would actually for a while flip my feet over after like coming out to land on my head, but then I just flipped right over because my body was telling me like that's not right. So I'd say that's probably the hardest thing. But once you get over that leap, I'd say a lot of divers who were gymnasts first go pretty far in the sport.
So what is the progression when someone first starts diving? Let's say they want to take lessons. Where does someone start them? Where does the coach say, okay, we're going to start at, is it at a certain height, certain jumps? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, you usually start on springboard. It's more accessible.
Mm-hmm.
Platform is harder to find. There's not a lot of schools out there that have the full Olympic platform. So you usually start out on the 1 meter platform, or sorry, springboard. And they usually you have what's called a fulcrum. So
Mm-hmm.
it's that makes the board more bouncy or less bouncy. And obviously, when you're young, you're going to start on the board being pretty tight because you're not used to loading a board, bouncing it slow. That's how you get hurt. That's how you train the wrong technique. So I'd say the first couple weeks were pretty boring. Not that I didn't enjoy it, but I'd say you're basically just doing jumps and learning a hurdle and learning just kind of the very, very basic, simple stuff before you even start thinking about adding flips to your dives or rotating a little bit more, adding twists. But again, all those things came a little more natural. Like once you did start them, if you were a gymnast, you already know how to twist, you already know how to flip. So those things did come a lot quicker once you do get started. But I would say the start is it's slow. Yeah.
Yeah. And so with you, you already had like this aptitude towards this, and your coaches saw this, and you said you started competing, did you say internationally or
Mhm.
so at 10 years old, right?
No, so my first international, I was about 11. I was competing in 12, 13 because
Okay.
your calendar year is the year that you compete. So I'm a
Mm,
December birthday, so that kind of played out,
I see.
unfortunately. Yeah, so I was turning 12 that year when I qualified to Junior Pan American Games.
Mm-hmm.
So my first ever international meet was in 2011. So it was about a year and a half after I had started diving.
And so they have these different categories of diving. Were you early on, like, did your coach decide you're just in this, or were you in multiple categories?
Yeah, I'd say a lot of tower divers also do springboard just
Okay,
because, yeah, like if you do plan to go collegiate level, you do need some springboard because tower is not competed as often.
sure.
All your dual meets and stuff are all going to be springboard. So usually you're starting on springboard anyway. But once I started tower, that was kind of an instant click for me. I mean, gymnastics, you don't have the thing that moves very slow like a diving board. I was a good tumbler in gymnastics.
Mm,
I liked vault. I liked to, I was kind of a power gymnast. And so I feel like that translated really well to tower, to platform, because it's a hard surface. So you're
hmm.
kind of the same thing. Like it's all you. You don't have a board kind of controlling the movement for you. Everything you're doing is on you. And I feel like that's kind of the same concept in gymnastics. So yeah, once I started tower, I just kind of knew this is where I was best in
Mm.
diving. And so I just kind of ran with that.
Was your confidence always there, and was it with the upbringing of, the sports background? Were you just naturally a competitive person, or did you have to grow into that?
Oh, I was always so competitive.
Yeah.
Family, again, like we're a sports family, so like we can't even play a video game or a board game without it being like so competitive.
I love
And
it.
it's like in the nature of the Schnell Hamblin, family chain. We're just, yeah, I mean, me and my aunt, especially Kate, me and her are so competitive. So like literally anything. We actually had, it's kind of funny, random story, but just like this random 4th of July kickball tournament in Upper Michigan at her house. And we're out in the yard and the men decided we're going to do men versus women.
Oh.
All the women were drinking and, having a good time. And me and Kate are like, oh, like we're getting so annoyed because they're just trying to chase it, like, couldn't find the ball. And we're sitting here like still couldn't even just throw the competitiveness out of the way for that because we're just like it's just in our nature. So
Oh.
that always come natural. I'd say the confidence piece took a long time just
Mm,
because yeah, it's weird because I don't know. I think that's like that perfectionism in me is I just every little detail for me was like I needed it to be perfect.
hmm.
And I get in my own way a lot. And so I honestly think it really took until 2019 when I won my bronze for me to really be like, wow, like, okay, like I'm super confident in my abilities. Yeah, just because you do have a lot of people who doubt and sometimes those things get in the way. And so yeah, I would say that was the moment where I was like, my true talent kind of came out and when I started coming out of my shell in terms of confidence. So it did take a while. Yeah.
That's interesting. So
Yeah.
with something that can be such an individualized sport, I mean, in a way, you're kind of alone, and it's not a team sport necessarily unless you're doing the pairs, right? So with that approach, and compared to maybe other sports that you pursued, what are some of the hardships of diving and like the mental game and aspect that you have to juggle um, participating in these different competitions?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. I mean, um, yeah, diving is such a small world. That's the
Hmm.
thing. Diving is like gymnastics, I think gets a little bit more recognition.
Right.
I think diving is one of those sports a lot of the time I'm having to explain why it's hard. And that's what's, I think, more like really frustrating in terms of like a lot of people think we're a swimmer or they think that we're a scuba diver. And it's like, it can be a little frustrating sometimes because you're just having to explain. And I've been told before, like a couple of times actually, like, oh, well, like it can't be that hard, but you have to swim to get out, right? So you must be a swimmer if you have to swim to get out. And I'm like, no, a lifeguard comes and saves me every time. Like, I have to know how to swim. But just like I have to really, really explain a lot of the time, like everything we're doing and everything that's being judged is happening from the start of your dive till you're underwater. After that, like it doesn't matter. So it's like we're hardly doing anything in the water. We're basically just everything we're being judged on is in the air
Hmm.
until we hit the water. So it's like it can be challenging to explain. And then there's other people who will be like, oh, it doesn't look that hard. And I'm like, but you also got to understand the sports that look easy are very hard. Like that's our job is to make it to like look easy. Like I was actually just talking about this with my husband last night. We were watching the figure skating replays.
Hmm.
And that sport I have so much respect for because I mean everybody says it looks so easy and it's like I can't even skate forward 10 feet without falling. You just have to put it all into perspective. Like that's the whole goal of the sport is it's supposed to look easy. Um, but in all reality with diving, like you're trying to spin and hold your body in positions through the air. Like you're not on the ground. You have to do that all in the air. And just every micro movement matters. Like it could be as simple as you lean back a little too far on your takeoff and now you're on your back in the water. So it's like every little tiny detail matters. So I think that's where it's hard being a perfectionist where in diving is it's like you really, really get nitpicky and you get really hard on yourself when those little things just are not working itself out. But you also got to remember everything's happening in the air. Like it's really hard to make those changes in microseconds because 10-meter platform diving, everything's happening within 2 to 3 seconds. I mean, you have to make those changes kind of instant. So it can be a challenge for sure.
What are some of the maybe the dangers or risks that are
Mhm.
involved with your sport?
Yeah, I mean, it's a concrete platform, so you're flipping forwards towards the platform. Your
Hmm.
head is kind of the first thing that comes past it. So I would say, I mean, everybody knows the notorious Greg Louganis hitting his head. I mean, those are real fears that you deal with all the time. And you're trying to make corrections and changes, but you also have this thing in the back of your head, like, oh, what I'm doing is not very safe. Like you have to have some level of fear in
Hmm.
order to be safe, though. I think some divers who don't really have that fear, it can get a little dangerous. So it's good to have that little healthy fear, but sometimes that can be also a challenge in terms of like trying to make changes that you need to make in order to correct the dive or fix what isn't really clicking. Um, but yeah, I mean, you also are hitting the water at, I forget the speed, it's like 45 miles per hour or something kind of crazy. So I mean, it's like hitting concrete. I mean, I've seen people smack and break ribs and have bleeding and like, I mean yeah, you're hitting the water. If you land wrong, there goes your shoulder, there goes your neck. Like you're hitting head first. So,
Have you had injuries yourself?
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've smacked several times. I have kind of the more nagging injuries just from like training so hard and we're pounding on concrete. So I had a lot of knee issues and couple shoulders, neck, just kind of the usual diver things. Um, but I mean, all those things are super preventable if you just like take care of your body and make sure you're doing the preventative recovery, working with your trainers and stuff. Yeah.
This may seem, kind of, just redundant to you, but I find it fascinating. What is the training like day in and day out for you?
Yeah.
I mean, I know so I come from a music world, and to reach the top level, like in piano, we're practicing like, for competition, 6 to 8 hours a day. So like,
Mm.
I know your body can only take so much of a toll, in your field. Like, what does it look like day in and day out for you?
Yeah. Day in and day out was typically anywhere from 2 to 4 hours in the water,
Okay.
um, depending on the day. So we would have like double practices where we dive in the morning and then we dive in the afternoon. And then we'd have days where we also have weight training because diving requires a lot of power, explosive power. You have to jump, everything in diving is
Right.
you want that rainbow arc.
Mm.
So, you're looking for height, you're looking for speed, power, all those things. So strength training was very important. So we would lift about 3 times a week, and then training was 6 days a week. So we'd have Sundays off. Um, Saturdays were typically just water and a little bit of dry land is what we call it. So we also do training out of the water where we'll have like diving boards, trampolines, all those things like onto mats and stuff. So we'll work on technique outside of the pool, and then we'll try and transition that into the pool. But the other piece that I think gets overlooked is like you also are training out of the pool too. Like you have to be in recovery, you have to be doing, proper recovery after practices. You have to be eating right, sleeping right. All those things matter. So if you're not doing those things, it just turns into a snowball effect. Like you're gonna start feeling it in the pool because we are training our bodies very heavily.
Hmm.
And part of me didn't realize how much I trained until I was done diving, that I was like, oh my gosh, like I was training a lot. Like I didn't realize how strong I was until like after, now I lift 4 or 5 times a week. And I'm like, wow, like, I really lost a lot of muscle after
Yeah.
that. Holy cow, like I didn't realize how strong I was from all the training we were doing. And yeah, it's a lot. Like I think it really it's a lifestyle. Like it becomes a 24/7 job for sure.
And going through these different areas where you were competing, so at like collegiate level, you had worlds, and these different competitions, and then the Olympics. What would you say the difference in the level you're competing with? And you said it's such a small world, the diving world. Do you see a lot of the same people even in those different competitions along the way?
Yeah, you see all the same people even internationally, all the same Olympic divers from Canada, Japan, China, all of
Mm,
them are all the same people you're going to probably compete against your whole career. Minus a few that obviously age out or come in younger. But I'd say so college diving, typically as a diver, college is kind of like your goal, right? So as for most sports, like your goal is to get into college athletics.
mm,
So that was obviously for me the initial goal because I don't come from a family that had a lot of money. So like sports for us was like a way through college,
okay.
or to get to college and pay for college. So for me, that was like always my goal. And then I think the Olympics just added a whole different level to that. Because like I said, like you said, diving is a very small world. So you're kind of training in a very quiet, closed environment, and it's really hard because people aren't really seeing the work you're doing, and it's like they're not really fully understanding the work that's going to it. And even like with your college teammates, because a lot of your Olympic divers will train in college. They'll train with their college coach, and then even after college, they'll stay and keep training with that coach. So we're kind of all spread out through the country. So we're very kind of everywhere. So you're not really training with like the best of the best all the time. Like you're not with the national team all the time. Like we rarely see each other. It's pretty much for national competitions or occasionally a synchro camp or international competitions. So everything you're doing, you have to try to um, almost compete with yourself a lot. And I think that's what's really challenging about diving is you don't have somebody next to you. Not necessarily sometimes, but I didn't personally have somebody next to me consistently like pushing me.
Mm,
I didn't have my competitors to train with every day because they were all located everywhere throughout the country. So I think that's really hard for somebody in college who's trying to aim for that Olympic level in diving, is that you have to like really kind of be um, your own advocate, your own mentor, your own person to push yourself because a lot of the time your teammates are college level divers and they're there for college and there's nothing wrong with that. Like it's fantastic that they're there, they're competing in college and I mean that's such a milestone in itself. Um, but it does take a different level to get to that Olympic stage because you do have to put in the extra hours of training. You do have to train through breaks. You have to stay over summer to keep training. You don't get to go back home. Um, so it really does take the right mindset within yourself to be able to push yourself without those people next to you to push you, if that makes sense.
no, it does, and it's difficult, but I find it amazing and inspiring, like people like you who can get over that hurdle and, reach this top level. Um, because I do think there's a lot of people who can relate to that in other fields. And if they want to be elite in it, it takes a certain regiment and day in and day out, kind of dying to your social life and, just really focus it. What are some of the things that you had to give up along the way? I'm curious.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things, at least later in my career, was, I was starting to approach like the next stages in life, like finding a job at some point or working towards my speech degree. And I was with my boyfriend at the time since freshman year of college. So he ended up Army ROTC. So he actually is an officer in the military.
Mm,
So towards the end of my career, he had to get sent to his new duty station, which ended up here in Colorado. And he also had to go through 2 deployments in Poland. So I think it's difficult because I didn't really have him around.
hmm
I also like needed him for that support, if you know what I mean. Like he
hmm
wasn't there for that support. Um, I'm trying to think. I kind of lost where I was going with this. Can you remind me what the question was?
Yeah, just what were some of the things that you had to be disciplined about and give up that maybe a normal person would have,
Right.
in their life?
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So with
Oh, no,
him
you're
being
good.
in Colorado, I couldn't come up here and see him. I had to stay back and train.
Mm,
I didn't have spring breaks. I basically had to train through those. And it would be hard because I would want to come see him. We were distanced for 3 years. I really wanted to spend time with him, but it's like I couldn't because I had to commit 100% to this goal that I had with diving. And I think that's people don't fully understand that sometimes. Like you are like everything has to be given to the sport. So it can be really isolating, especially when my support system were elsewhere. Yeah, so I had to give up family events. I had to give up vacations. I had to give up holidays. You have to give up a lot. It is, like I said, it's a lifestyle. It is a 24/7 job for sure.
and it's something you love though, too, right? It's
Yeah, and that's why I always say it's so important to enjoy it because if it's going to be your lifestyle, you have to enjoy it. So
yeah,
I'm
what would be the point of that? That's just torture, right?
oh yeah, absolute torture. And that's where it's hard is like it's gonna be love hate though. That's the
hmm
thing. Any sport or any like career, it's gonna be love hate. So there are times where like you're really in a ditch. Like I would say towards the end of my career, I was struggling a lot to enjoy it. And I obviously that kind of unfortunately showed for my performance in Paris. But it's like that's where you have to reflect and be like, okay, why am I here? Why am I diving? Like you have to really know your why and find your why. So it took a lot of like kind of soul searching when you hit those times. You have to really step back and be like, okay, what is my purpose for doing? What am I doing this for?
Mm.
Because it does take a lot of sacrifice. So if you're not doing it for a purpose, then it's just what's the point, right?
So
Um,
let's look at your time in the Olympics. So going back to the beginning when you qualify and you're part of, the USA team, what was going through your mind at that specific point when you're like, I made the team? Assume you're excited.
yeah, I mean, I think a big misconception with a lot of sports is like that Olympic trials is probably one of the most stressful competitions you will ever compete in because everything is on the line for one performance.
hmm
So one dive could mean the difference between you being on the Olympic team or not. You could get sick at the wrong time, and it is what it is, and you have to learn to deal with it. But um, yeah, I mean, Olympic trials, the lead up to that, I would say was probably the most stressful 3, 4 months of my life. Yeah, even that whole year leading up, because again, every little detail matters. The timing matters of when you're going to peak. Like you have to peak at the right time. Um, but knowing I made the team was definitely, I think, the relief I
hmm
needed. Um, just to kind of understand, like, I'm here to have fun. I need to just enjoy it. Um, so going into Tokyo, my mindset was purely like, you know what? Like I'm here. I like, and honestly, like if you look at Alyssa Liu's performance in figure skating last night, like she
Yep.
won, gold, but it's like her mindset was completely just like, I'm here for fun. I'm here to enjoy it. And like, I love that she won because it really goes to show like if you're enjoying what you're doing and you don't care about the results, obviously you have to care a little bit, but if you don't care about the results, like there's so much an athlete is capable of. And I think that's why Tokyo was so successful is because my mindset was purely like, oh my gosh, I'm at the Olympics. Like I could land on my face and I don't care. Like,
You made the top level, yeah.
yeah. And it's hard too, because I know a lot of people and fans, like it's all about the medals, but it's like, I wish that it wasn't all about the medals sometimes because it's like, what about us little guys who, like our sport is dominated by China and it's really hard, really, really, really hard to get a medal. I mean, you're limiting spots now to like individual events just being that one medal. Bronze is basically what every other country is hoping to get in my event. Synchro, getting gold is pretty much near impossible. So it's like you're less opportunity for you to get a medal in my sport. So it's I wish like us little guys in these sports that, we aren't as recognized, got a little more of that recognition because like just making an Olympic team is such a feat in itself. So I wish sometimes they would talk about the little guys, the Team USA guys who are not quite the Simone Biles or Michael Phelps of their sports.
So after you won the silver, though, did you feel like that was a step forward in bringing recognition more to your sport and maybe the specific synchro, specifically?
Um, trying to think how to put this. I unfortunately no.
Okay.
Do feel like sometimes we do get a little overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, it's not something that necessarily bugs me. It's just more, I wish diving got kind of more of that recognition. I think it would go a long way in growing our sport. Um, I feel like initially our silver medal did bring a lot of recognition, because it was the first medal in that
Right.
event US has won. Um, but I think it faded quick. I think it was kind of like a whoop, and then it was kind of
Sure.
it out very quick. Um, so I do wish there had been a little bit more opportunity to kind of let that grow the fire for diving. Um, but it is hard because you do have, like I said, like you have those athletes like Simone Biles and all those things that kind of overshadow and overpower some of us little guys.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be challenging on that side of things.
So when you first get to the Olympics, you have like the opening ceremony and you have all the festivities that go along, and then you have to get into the mindset of competing. But let's talk outside of the competition. What was just one being in Tokyo like? Two, what is the Olympics like? The village, the people, the different athletes you get to meet. What was that experience for you, and what stood out?
Yeah, I think one of the first things I noticed, well, obviously Tokyo is a very different experience toward like compared to most Olympics because it was COVID Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were spitting into test tubes every day and I mean, wearing masks everywhere. And it was a very unique experience. We anything in Tokyo, we had to stay in the village. Like, so we were kind of like locked down. And so you really had to find a way to make it home. So I actually had all my family's pictures that they sent me.
Aw.
They did this really cool thing where they had like letters from home and they put them in your room. And so you got to open them and read all the letters from like your fans and your friends. And so I actually hung all those on my wall because I'm like, oh, this will like give me a little piece of home, like a little, oh, sorry, someone's calling me. There we go.
Oh, you're good.
It'll give me like a little piece of home and like make me feel like I'm, with my family and friends. Oh, see if I can get this back. Not sure what happened.
Oh, you're good.
There we go. All right. Yeah, so I think that was a very unique experience with Paris or Tokyo is that you didn't have your friends and family there with you. They were all at home watching, um, from afar. So it was hard not having fans in the stands and that energy that comes with having a packed stadium. You just didn't get that. You had your teammates there to watch, and even some of them couldn't be there to watch your events. It was pretty limited.
Mm.
Um, One of the coolest things I think about being in the Olympic Village is I would say most Olympians are very type A. And so you're walking around and it's just like this whole like walking past all these incredible athletes, like everybody is just so stern and just so like they have a plan, they have a goal, and it's just like it's such an interesting environment being around the Olympic Village, just seeing all the countries walking around and all these super tall athletes and divers and these like teeny tiny little
Yeah.
you know, athletes, and it's like they would walk right over you. Some of these athletes, it's just everybody is so type A. And so you have all these type A Olympic athletes in one environment. And it was pretty crazy. Like even the dining hall, walking around, just seeing all these crazy athletes. And then the other cool thing was being in like the weight rooms there because you're sharing it with other Olympic athletes. So just seeing like jujitsu and stuff, doing all their fighting and everything in the weight room, and just seeing like the different ways that different athletes train for their sport was just so fascinating. Like you couldn't help but just watch. That was a pretty cool experience for sure. I would say opening ceremonies was really cool, even
Yeah.
without exposures, just like walking out into that stadium and just being like, oh my gosh, like I'm at the Olympics. Like I would say that was kind of like your aha moment when it comes to the Olympics, is like walking out in that stadium and just seeing like how big and grand everything was.
It's kind of surreal, at that point you
Very
make
surreal.
it. What would you say the biggest lessons learned during your time in Tokyo were? And then going in, to the next 4 years, into Paris.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say now looking back at it, I think Paris definitely was a very 180 from Tokyo. So
Mm.
it's really hard to like use what I learned from Tokyo just because it was so different from what was experienced in Paris. Because Paris, you had all the crazy fans, you had your family there, you were able to go out and explore. Um, so it was really hard to put the blinders on a little bit. And I think that would be my lesson is like Paris, I mean, it was really hard to lock in. It was really hard to get that mindset like put in the right spot. Not that I wasn't, like I was definitely there to compete. I was definitely like ready to go.
Hmm.
I knew, like my goal was to get on that podium because in Tokyo, individually, I was fifth. I went into the semifinal from the prelims. Sorry, Mike.
Oh, hi. I love it.
Semifinal third. I went into the finals in third. So I was in the standing to medal, but I think I just, once I got to that final, I put that pressure on myself because I knew where I was. I knew where I was standing. And I knew I had a shot at that medal, individually as well as in synchro. So, I think looking back, I would say like Paris, I think I put too much pressure on myself
Mm.
because, um, I knew what I was capable of from Tokyo. And I think that unfortunately, with me being that person who just overthinks and lets things, I stand in my own way. I definitely stood in my own way. I was very much, I think, trying too hard to be perfect in Paris. And unfortunately, it backfired. And so I learned a lot from Paris, honestly, more than I did Tokyo. Because Tokyo, I would say, aside from individual, was like a picture perfect Olympics, like a silver medal that I was not expecting,
Hmm.
near bronze medal in individual. I mean, one of the best experiences of my life. And then it's like Paris was a completely different, it was a completely different beast. So, yeah, I think the one thing I learned is I definitely stood in my own way in Paris for sure. I was trying so hard to just get that bronze medal that I missed instead of just diving to enjoy it like I
Hmm.
didn't. So I think at the end of the day, I learned that I really need to just make sure I'm enjoying what I'm doing. And if I don't, like things are gonna probably not happen the way that I hope they would happen.
Well, I think it's you're taking away life lessons, from this experience. It's not just about the competition in the moment, but it's what you carry on in life and even away from the Olympics. And on your Instagram, you had a great post, in reflection that you wrote about. Um, one of the quotes that you had in there was, "Failure is only failure if you see it that way." I'm
Mhm.
curious, when did that perspective actually click for you after, you came home? When did you have time to kind of like decompress and think about your experience?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it did take a while to kind of comprehend everything that happened in Paris because it was definitely not the experience that I had wanted to end my career on. Because, I mean, obviously, I was still kind of wrestling with the idea after Paris about coming back and potentially like going for 2028. Um, that's obviously kind of changed now. But I think I really had to come to terms with the idea that my journey wasn't defined by how it ended.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, one performance doesn't define like everything that I did in the sport. And so the other takeaway, like you said, I learned way more from Paris than I would have ever learned from Tokyo. Like I had so much success in Tokyo, but it's like Paris taught me so much. Like it really taught me like I said, your journey is not defined by how it ends. Like there is so much accomplishment that I had in the sport way before Paris. But I would say it took a long time for me to come to terms with that. Like obviously you want to go out on a high note. Um, but I mean, I learned like you got to enjoy it. Like that's such like a key thing in any sport. I mean, if you're not enjoying it, like it's just it's not going to be worth it. Like I really had, I mean, like I said, it took me over a year to figure out like I was enjoying the journey at the end of the day. Like it was all about the journey. It was all about the ins and outs. It was all about the ups and downs. It was all about, the failures that taught me so much. Like I've learned way more from all of that. Um, yeah, I mean, it's all the stuff that you're doing behind the scenes that I think you have to enjoy that the most. And now looking back, like I do miss that everyday grind of diving. Like I miss, pushing really hard in the weight room and pushing really hard in the pool every day and like no one seeing it, but then getting to step out on that competition and just show everybody what you can do. And yeah, I mean, it taught me a lot. Paris was definitely a lot of life lessons that I even still apply to life now.
Who, if you had to define yourself outside of diving, because I feel like a lot of Olympians and high performing people, they define themselves with the result of their competition. So if you had to, take a moment and say, how do I define Delaney? What would you say?
I'm an ambitious person. I'm
Mm-hmm.
somebody who will, if I put my mind to something, I'm gonna do it. I think that's something that I've really learned about myself is like I will if I want to become a figure skater, I would like whatever I wanted to do, or had to do to get there. Yeah, I'm a very ambitious person, and so um, I think that it goes to show like if anybody puts their mind to something, they can achieve it if they really put the work in for it. Um, yeah, I think that's one of the biggest lessons I learned.
Going forward, what are your goals in life now? Post Olympics, post the height, the highest competition.
Yeah, right now it's just figuring out life outside of diving. It's figuring out, like you said, who I am outside the pool. It's playing around with new sports. It's playing around with new ways to stay active. Like, I've tried CrossFit, I've tried swimming, I've tried what else have I tried? I've just tried different ways of like working out and enjoying like life outside of diving. I've gone on hikes, I've gone on vacations, like I've done a lot of things that I haven't been able to do.
Yeah.
Um, so that's been really, really fun is just like learning new ways um, to live life because like I said, it does consume your life. Like you are in a way letting it define you, but you have to understand like you're more than diving. Like diving is not who you are. It's just a part of what you've done. It's a part of your life, but it's not who you are. So yeah, I've definitely it's taken a lot of time to really step back and understand like now I'm working out to stay fit. Like now I'm just doing it because it's something I enjoy. It's not necessarily because I'm reaching for something, but like that's okay.
Hmm.
Uh, I think it's hard to separate the idea that you have to be reaching for a goal all the time because, when you're an elite athlete, there's always a goal in mind. Whereas now it's kind of like, oh, like I don't really have like a goal, at least fitness wise. Like I don't have like a reason to be in the weight room, but it's like, oh, you do actually. It's just because it's something you enjoy.
Right.
And that's okay. Like it doesn't have to be a goal. It can be something you just enjoy. But yeah, right now, other than that, I'm just kind of working towards my career in speech. So working towards getting my clinical fellowship done and then getting my C's so I can be fully certified. And then, me and my husband, we had our wedding in April of 2025.
Hmm.
We've been married though for like going on 3 years. So in August, it'll be about 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, he's military, so for us it just kind of made sense to like do it all on paper.
Yeah.
Uh, we've been together like what 9 years now, so
Just
we were
checking the boxes.
it makes sense for us. So we did kind of keep that a little quiet because we were like, well, we want people to still come to our wedding. Like, family won't come if they know we're married already, so we just kind of like kept it quiet, but. I would say our wedding was like our celebration. So that was a really fun experience. It's been fun to kind of live life, the married life now and um, have our, two cats and just hanging out in Colorado, enjoying going out in the mountains and paddleboarding and doing all the Colorado things. So that's been really, really fun. Um, and I'd say we're talking about potentially having kids in the next year. So that's like a next big step for us. And yeah, there's so much life out there now. It's like after I'm done diving, I've realized how much life there is to live outside of the diving world. So it's really, really exciting to look forward to the next things.
It's an exciting life, and I think your mindset is going to put you on a trajectory where you're going to be successful, and you're in the lessons that you learn from these competitions. You're going to carry that into life, and you're going to enjoy the journey. That's what I'm seeing from your reflections in it. Do you
Yeah.
think you'll still kind of have a foot in diving and coaching and
Yeah, I actually do coach right now. I
uh-huh.
started when I moved to Colorado. There's a club that is based out of Denver. They come down to the Air Force Academy to train platform once a
Mm-hmm.
week. I do get to coach every once in a while, and it's so much fun, like being on the other side of it, like sharing what I know and sharing some of the lessons I've learned. Yeah, I've honestly kind of enjoyed that more because it's like, what's the point? If I had done all this, and it's like I can't share what I've learned. So I really, really enjoy coaching. I've had so much fun teaching these little kids and just watching them succeed and like, make their corrections and seeing them make changes and getting to celebrate everything with them on the pool deck, I think is a pretty awesome experience. So who knows, maybe coaching would be in the future. I don't know.
I love it. You also had a cool opportunity is you were chosen to carry the flag onto U.S. soil as we, announced that the Olympics are coming to L.A., right, in 2028. What was that moment like for you? And if you had to give advice to athletes going into that competition, what would it be?
Yeah, I mean, the Olympics is full of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
It is very full of pressure, especially if you're not in a sport where trials is kind of like that, pressure-filled event. I'd
Mm-hmm.
say diving is, but again, you're still on the world stage at the Olympics, the grandest stage that exists in sport. Um, but you really have to set that aside, like, and just understand, like, you're there. Like, and that's why I say, like, I do wish they would talk more about those little guys because it is such a feat to be there. And I think it puts more stress on athletes' shoulders to think like the only way that you're gonna be something is if you're on that podium. And
Right.
it's like No, like you have done something 0.0001% of the population has done. Like you got to understand that. And I think if you can really look at that with perspective, um, I think the Olympic experience can really be everything that you imagined it would be. Because I think I fortunately, now that I actually say fortunately, before I wouldn't have, but fortunately, I've experienced probably the lowest of lows at an Olympics and the highest of highs.
Hmm.
Tokyo was the highest of highs, and Paris, I would say, was probably one of the lowest of lows. But now I'm fortunate that I had that experience because I kind of understand the mindset that it takes to go into the Olympics and do. I mean, watch Simone Biles in Tokyo have a hard time because it's like there's so much pressure on her. And so I just say, like, don't go into it with this pressure on yourself. Like, you really have to go and enjoy it.
Hmm. Well, and I think that's so again, relating to my field, the only way I can relate, in music, it's all about the preparation. You have to put the preparation. You have to be disciplined, you know. And when we're competing on a national level or internationally in competitions, you have at that point you reach this top level, and then it just kind of you go into like a flow state. I don't know how it is for you mentally, but like there's a certain state when we're performing like like an hour's worth of music by memory, and we just have to physically we know everything we know mentally, and you just kind of let go and just trust your preparation. And honestly, like you've noted, when you enjoy it, actually it goes a lot better. It because it feels like I don't know what it is at the anxiety or
Yeah.
whatnot, but it just
Yeah.
put in all the work and then enjoy it, because at that point it's like it is what it is, I guess.
And I always tell the club divers that I coach, like, you're going to stand in your own way. Like, at some point, you just got to shut your brain off and let things do what they do.
Yeah.
Uh, and I've learned that I dive my best when I just shut my brain off and I say, we're just going to think about one correction on each dive versus like trying to just make this dive perfect and just overthinking everything. It's like at some point you just got to tell your brain, like, that's enough. Like, you just got to stop. Just do your dive, think about one correction, and then that's it. Like, just keep it as simple as possible. I always tell them, keep it simple. Like, less is more, you know?
Less is more. Charmin Ultra, right? No. No, exactly. No, I try to tell that with my college students that I teach is just little incremental changes. It's going to build over time, and it's going to solidify, and it's going to be second nature. It's just going to flow. I think that's good. It's as much as a physical aspect as it is a mental game, and that's huge. And you've gone through that journey.
Yeah, and that's like the other thing is it's like the journey. If you don't enjoy it too, it's like, okay, well, you're competing for maybe if you add it all up, 5 minutes a year, like
Yeah.
every only 3 seconds. It's like, so the success you may have like will last what, zero point 0.2 seconds, whereas like your journey is like an entire culmination of everything. So it's like if you can't enjoy that full culmination, I mean, what you're getting 0.2 seconds of like joy and success. It's like if you can't just like look at that with perspective, like, I mean, that's kind of how I've taken, everything that happened with Paris. It's like that was a week of my life versus like my entire journey, that to get there in the first place, like that's what was fun. That's what I enjoyed. And if I didn't, then like even if I was at the top of that podium, like was it really worth it if I didn't enjoy that whole, 15 years of my life?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great perspective, and it's a healthy mindset to have. Looking at diving in the sport, what do you want people to understand, and what maybe, I mean, it might be hard to say, but what are maybe some things that people can do to bring attention to the sport or elevate it to where you think it should be going?
Yeah, that's a hard one because like yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's just divers kind of using their platform to kind of share what we know about the sport and share our sport.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, social media nowadays, like, is a great opportunity to do those things. I mean, I don't definitely wish I posted more, I guess. Gets in the way, but yeah, I mean, I think federations like sports organizations and stuff can do a lot by just being active on social media and sharing their love for the sport through their athletes. I think now, obviously, with the kids that grow up nowadays on social media, they're going to see that, and that's kind of the segue to get involved with those sports. So, yeah, I think social media is a great platform to use for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you're able to talk about your story and just putting this out there, and hopefully it brings more attention um, to your sport. And also, I think it carries these life lessons, it carries into other things as well, so people can relate to it. So thank you for, reflecting back on your journey and the things that you've learned along the way, because it's very inspiring to many of us. So thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm always happy to share things I've learned. I mean, you don't get to do it often, so it's definitely fun to share some
Absolutely.
experience and hopefully
Absolutely.
apply it.
Well, we are coming to the end of our podcast, and I don't know if you've seen, but the way I end all of my podcasts is this is probably the hardest part about it, is we do a quick rapid fire round, 1 minute round of questions. Now, I know you're a competitor, so I think you're going to do well, right? We'll see,
We'll see.
okay? Let me pull up my timer. Okay, so I got my fancy phone here. Let me pull
Yep,
up my list tailored for you. Okay, Delaney, are you ready?
ready.
Okay, here we go. Platform or synchro?
Platform.
Olympic Village, was it amazing or overwhelming?
Both.
One word to describe the Olympics.
Overwhelming.
Best moment of your career
Tokyo silver medal.
and hardest moment of your career?
Paris.
What's scarier, the dive or the anticipation?
The anticipation.
Do you listen to any music before competition?
It varies. It's whatever I'm feeling. It's well, sometimes it's country, sometimes it's rock. It varies.
I love it. What's your favorite non-Olympic sport?
Ooh, non-Olympic sport. Oh gosh. Dancing, like ballet. I love ballet.
Oh, that's beautiful. What separates great athletes from elite athletes?
Ooh, mindset.
And let's see, what would be your advice to your 12-year-old self?
Have fun. Do it
Have
for the girl
fun.
who started in the first place.
And there's our 1 minute. I love it. That was good. We packed it in, insightful.
Thanks.
Delaney, this has been a pleasure. Thank you again for sharing your story. I am super inspired by you, and I feel like a lot of people are going to be inspired listening to your journey. You have a great road ahead of you. I'm excited to see what life brings you. Enjoy the journey.
Me too. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Sheckler Spotlight with your host, Harrison Sheckler. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, follow, and share the show with a friend. New conversations drop regularly, so stay tuned. And thanks again for listening and being a part of the journey. Follow Harrison Sheckler on social media and visit harrisonsheckler.com to learn more.